I really want to express my really great feeling about this PowerPoint. I've always believed, and I've absolutely lived it, that leadership is the most powerful position on earth. It's the highest paid profession on earth. And you look at the CEOs and you look at people who are at the top of any kind of leadership system, any kind of network system, any kind of corporate system. They're the highest paid people on earth, and they're the most valuable. And a lot of people don't realize that this is a journey. And anybody that gets to this level of life has absolutely learned some incredible skills. Now, during my lifetime, I always valued and understood and tried to emulate leadership. I was fortunate enough in college to have a professor that gave us a real insight into this profession. And he says, you need to realize that this is a profession that people develop the skills during their lifetime. They add some of the skills, but this is a learned profession. You learn it. You can't go really anywhere and get it taught to you. You got to learn it. You got to have the desire that you want to be in a network and own it and develop it, or develop a company, have ownership in it. Then you start developing the skills that I'm going to go through with you. Next slide. This is a day that can change your life. And I just want you to need to know that open the door to something bigger in life. You got to have a big dream. You got to have the desire to look forward. Your future success is going to depend on making the changes in your life. Success in life depends upon learning new skills, visualization, focus, belief, developing these skills. I tell you, you're going to be the most valuable thing in your whole life. I tell you, if I got value out of building the Shackley Network, it was the leadership skills that I learned. And I'm going to tell you, it's the most valuable thing I got from this. I've made a lot of money, yeah. I've got a lot of things that have happened to me, yes. But the leadership skills, I'm going to tell you, have been the most valuable skills I've ever imagined that could happen to me. Nothing splendid has ever been achieved except by those who dared to believe that something inside of them was superior to circumstances. People, that is a powerful statement. I've carried that statement my whole life. And I just want you to understand that statement is something you need to live with. When you decide to come into Shackley, Shackley is a dream maker. There's a tremendous thing out there, but there's skills that you're going to have to develop. Next slide, please. The journey to develop leadership, and on the journey to develop great leadership, you must never react to anything outside of yourself, or you'll go another direction. Ships do not sink because of the water around them. They only sink when the water gets inside of them. I've worked with and trained hundreds of people in this business in my career. And I can tell you the people that react to things outside of them are never going to make a success in life. You just can't do it. And I know so many people react to everything that comes along every day in their life, and they go that direction. Remember something, when you react to something, you now own it. You own it. Now, owning some of these things become a real problem. And I'm going to tell you, over my years, I had to fight this. Not reacting to things other people did, other people said, how other people did things around me. I learned not to react to them. Because I really believed when I found Shackley, I found the golden goose. Because I never could believe a philosophy like this, preserved, wouldn't build a tremendous future. Next slide, please. You got to leave the past behind. The past is dangerous if you carry the negativity of the results into your future. I bring a lot of people into Shackley that try to drag their past into the business. If you learn to take only the positive learning experiences into your future, you can use them as a platform to build on. Negative results, such as powerful effect on the ability to get stronger with new experiences. If you can't afford the future, if you carry the future along with you, but you carry the past with you. People, I just can't tell you enough. One of the things that I try to teach people when they decide to build an organization with me is you got to understand one thing. This is a leadership development business. And you're going to have to learn leadership skills. Some people have a big dose of it. Some people haven't got any of it. But I can tell you the one thing that's going to make the difference is a person's ability to develop these skills. Next slide, please. So you have two choices in life. Spend your life living with grievances or spend your life looking for a miracle. Now, every day I get up in the mirror and I look at the mirror and I say, I'm going to create a miracle. Now, I believe that. Now, I believe that so strongly that I can tell you there's been some miracles come into my life, but I'm looking for them. You know, if you look at the mirror and you start coming up with your grievances, and people are great blamers. Well, if I just had this, or if I could just get this, if I just could do this. No. That's, you can't carry this process that life owes you something, that you should be given something. The best teacher I had was my dad. When I got ready to go to college, my folks and I got together and said, Dad, I want to go to college. My dad looked at me and he said, figure it out. The greatest 3 words you could ever hear. I was in shock. I said, Dad, I got no money to register for school. He said, figure it out. You know, and from that day forth, I never asked my dad for anything. I figured it out. Life to me was figuring it out. And so when I get up in the morning, I take a look at myself and I'm spending each day looking for a miracle because they're out there. Next slide, please. Well, leadership positions are the highest paid in the world. These positions will never be replaced by robots. I want you to understand that. None of us, I don't believe, will ever follow a robot. Now, as the age of the robots come into place, we're going to see thousands and thousands of jobs be replaced. But nobody can replace leadership. You just can't do it. It's a human function. And you got to realize that robots are going to take over the world. And they're going to take over so much of our life. The cars we drive, the places we go to eat, but nothing will take over your leadership. I will tell you that right now. There ain't nothing can take over human ability to tap into the universe. So I want you to realize as the world moves forward towards network development, leadership is always going to be the controlling factor to the success of these networks. Next slide, please. You know, I've always tried to get a focus. And focus is a really tough job for a lot of people. The ability to see a target and stay on the target. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story this morning, and I want to tell you because it's really prevalent. A few years ago, I had a friend call me up and he said, Jim, he says, he couldn't make it in Shackley. He tried and I tried to help him, but he just wouldn't learn. But anyway, he wanted to become a shooter. So he went out and went to shooting school. He paid $250. He went to this class and they gave him a gun and they gave him 1 bullet and they gave him a target 200 yards out in the field. And they said, aim at this target. You got 1 bullet. If you don't hit it, you're out of the class. He says, I just paid you $250 for 1 shot. That's right. When you pull that trigger, it's all over with. He said, Jim, I couldn't even pull the trigger. He says, well, come back next Saturday. We'll let you sit here again. He said, Jim, every time I started looking at the target, I started thinking about, well, I could miss this. I could lose $250. What if I don't hit it? I'm out of this whole school. So he'd go home again the next week. Next week he came back and the instructor says, well, here's your one bullet. Get it out there. He said, Jim, I sit down worried about everything that could happen. I wasn't focused on what was going to happen. He said, I've always focused on things that was going to happen in my life. He says, that's the way my life always was. He says, now I am faced with hitting a target that I want to become a shooter. I want to go to the Olympics. He says, I love shooting. 5 weeks, he came back, never fired a bullet. And during those 5 weeks, he called me. He said, Jim, what's wrong with me? I said, you've always had this problem. You never worked on it. You always carried all these things that were going to happen. I said, if you can't focus on a target and believe you're going to hit it, forget it. Well, finally, after enough talking, this kid went out there the 6th week, got there, took a sight, pulled the trigger, hit the target. He went on to be on the U.S. Olympic rifle team. Now, I'm telling you guys, when you decide you're going to be a master coordinator in Shackley, you better keep your eye on the bullet and the target. You only get one shot at life. You don't get 10 shots at life. And I learned, I'm a presidential master coordinator today. I learned a long time ago, when I was going to presidential, there was nobody going to stop me. I didn't care. There was nobody going to stop me. Now I'm building the largest organization in Shackley, and nobody's going to stop me. But you know, it's that focus. I can't tell you enough today. That separates everything in life of human beings that can focus as they start moving towards the target. Universal principles come in that you will find miracles happen around you. Next slide, please. Well, then you start to believe. The closer you get to the target, the easier and better you believe. And belief is a process. Until you believe something, you'll never be able to create it. It's very important to realize anybody that believes in where they're going and what they're going to do builds that belief. And they stay focused on the target. Now, nobody's blessed with more than one target at a time. I'll tell you that right now. You can't have 10 targets. I focused on this when I came into Shackley. I looked at the master coordinator position. At that time, it was a golden phoenix out there. I saw things that I'd never seen in my life. And I every day, I dreamed it. I believed it. I worked at it. I had 7 kids. I quit my job with 7 kids, no income, and went at this thing. Now, I'll tell you, that was the scariest day of my life when I walked out of my job, looked back at a job. I was a supervisor in the clinical labs, a job that I'd worked so hard for 6, 8 years to get to. And I quit it all one day with a brand new wife. We put their 2 families together, 7 kids. I walked out of that job, looked back and thought, I'm not getting a paycheck next month. But people, they were nothing going to stop me. They were nothing going to stop me. And I'm going to tell you right now, that makes a difference. Building belief. And when you believe something, ain't nothing going to stop you. Next slide, please. Well, I want you to realize visualization starts happening when you start focusing. And the more you focus, the more you visualize. There's a power here. And there is things in the universe that start coming into your life. You don't even realize you're coming into your life. Visualization is a powerful thing. Do you think people create great feats without visualizing and believing? No. Everybody's got adversity. But the great people that I've met in my life, the great leaders I've met in my life, all have great focus and visualization. That they got those 2 characteristics. Now, where they got them, I don't know. I didn't think I had them. But once I had them focused on master coordinator, I learned them. Next slide, please. So human mind can only accomplish what it can visualize. And I wish it could be something different, gang. I wish sometimes I wouldn't have to take people through this. but there's just no choice. And there's no choice. I've left a lot of people along the way. I brought a lot of people into Shackley that I thought had great potential, but they just didn't have the skill. They got there with the one bullet and was afraid to fire because they were afraid of failing or losing. But then I have found those people with great vision, great leadership, great miracles came into their life. Next slide, please. So congruency becomes a powerful thing. I learned this a long time ago when your head and your body are connected. It connects your nervous system. Now, when you put a message out, when your head and your body say the same thing, you got a power that is so incredible. A number of years ago, I had the opportunity to work with a man named Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn taught Tony Robbins everything Tony Robbins eventually started to learn. But Jim Rohn was one of the most powerful men I'd ever met. And he offered me an opportunity to speak with him on the road for a year. I went on the road with him for a year. And the only reason I did is I wanted to learn from this man. And I'll tell you, when his head and his body got together, 500 people in the room, he'd touch every one of them. Congruency is a powerful piece. And when I run into people that's got this skill, I can't tell you how powerful they are. Next slide, please. So I want you to understand what you sow is what you reap. The law of diminishing intent, the law of averages, the law of faith. Now, who created all this stuff? You know, somebody a lot smarter than me laid the rules out. I just learned they're there. You got to use them. There ain't nobody ever got anywhere in life till he realized this. What you sow is what you reap. It's that simple. And there's a law to averages. The more you do something and the better you get at it, the greater the odds of you winning. And the law of faith. I mean, Jim Rohn talked about these in those years, and I took notes all the time he talked, and I adapted them into my life. Next slide, please. So the perils and the dangers of trying to save other people are going to kill you. I learned a long time ago, I can't carry anybody in my back. I can't make anybody successful. I can only take care of me. And then when I turn around, anybody that wants to follow, that's great. But you're going to have to realize I ain't going to save you. I ain't going to make you successful. But I'm going to set the example that you can follow and believe in, because I'm always moving down the road. And I always will. Next slide, please. You see, leaders can't carry somebody on their back, because you maybe carry one, but you got to lead 1,000. And so to realize the perils and the dangers of trying to save other people is a trap. It's a trap that you've got to realize is going to kill you. How many people that I brought into Shackley, their organization destroyed them because they've tried to save everybody in their group. They tried to do something they couldn't do. They tried to carry people on their back. They tried to make people successful. Can't do it, people. I can carry one on my back, but I can lead 1,000. And I learned that a long time ago. I'm going to set the leadership skills. I'm going to set the path. If you want to follow me, go ahead. If you don't, fine. But I can't make you successful. I'll set the example, but I can't make you successful. And you're going to have to understand that, people. I brought in a lot of people into Shackley. I tried to save. I even violated my own reality. But I soon realized I had to get away. I had to go on my own, because it's only the people that followed me that went on to become successful with me. Next slide, please. So the perils of getting pulled into the swamp are terrible. Now there's alligators in that swamp. Now if somebody gets into the swamp, I can't go in there and save you. I can't go in there and save you, because if I go in there, I get eaten. But I can try to inspire you out of the swamp. Now, people are going to get into a mess. And if you try to save them, they're going to pull you into the mess. This is a leadership business. And if you want to be successful in this thing, you got to learn this, guys. You got to learn that there is a process here. You can't save anybody. Now, somebody should have taught this to our government a long time ago, that we had a great philosophy, a great constitution. It was put here in 1776 by a bunch of good leaders that wrote a great constitution. But then it got violated, that we need to take care of people. We need to get them out of the swamp. We need to go in the swamp with them. And it's pulled our country into a big mess. If you follow this rule, don't ever get in the swamp. Don't ever, ever get in the swamp. You inspire people. You lead people. You become a leader. If they don't get out of the swamp, the alligator's going to eat them. I ain't going in there. Next slide, please. So people must be inspired to leave the swamp. Your vision, your belief must be translated to success, and that success is what you got to live by the rest of your life. Don't chase money. You know, this has probably been one of the biggest things I've seen in Shaklee. People come in to chase the dollar. And I have to sit back and I have to laugh. You can't chase the money. The money's got to chase you. I admire these quarterbacks in the NFL that make $30 million, $40, $100 million a year. Why? Because they're good. And companies pay that because you can't replace that. You can't replace a good quarterback. They are flawless. They're worth a lot of money. Nobody can replace you because you're worth a lot of money. But the money will chase you. I'll guarantee that to you. The money will chase you. And you got to learn right now, money chases you when you get good. Next slide, please. So when I started to build an organization and a network, it was my leadership. And when I found Shaklee, I realized my leadership was going to build this network. And I realized in the beginning, the one thought I had was, I was going to set up an office on this rock. I'm going to build an office. And I never, ever going to leave this spot. And I'm going to build the biggest organization in Shaklee from right here. And I started my office today, Rapid City, South Dakota. It's worth about $300,000 or $400,000 a day in my office. And that's where I work from. Now, when I bring people in the business, the one thing I require is you got to put in an office and you got to take over the leadership of your network. Now, I'm going to work down in your network and try to develop other leadership. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to do it. Because in that network is too valuable. That network could have a person in there that could earn you millions of dollars. And I'm going to help you find that person because we both make money. So I want you to look at the marketing plan today is designed to create and develop leadership. And I want you to realize when you start with me, this is going to be this is the process. This is the deal. You're going to put in a company office and you're going to take on some leadership. I'm going to be there to work in your groups. I'm going to be there to help train because I get paid. I get paid to help develop this. So do you get paid. We got a partnership here. But I want you to realize I carry you in my back. I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to lead. I'm going to go in that group and I'm going to try to help you develop it. I'm going to help you offer leadership to you. But this is your dream. And I want you to know, I want you to go on to become a master coordinator with me. But I'm not going to take you out of the swamp. Next slide, please. So I want you to understand passive income. Money being paid on other people. Now today, Mary Jo and I make about $750,000 a year. And the thing that's nice about it is I'm retired. I live down here in Phoenix. I play golf 3 or 4 days a week. I got a great lifestyle. I got the life that I dreamed I would have. And I get paid every single month. Every month I get this big bonus check. I can't even spend all of my money. I got a huge 401k. I mean, I've made a lot of money. Do I worry about money? No, I buy anything I want, live any way I want, because Shackley pays on the work I did in leadership bonuses for the rest of my life. And that's what I want for you. I want you to get down to a point in life where all you got is residual income coming in month after month, year after year, and you can live any way you want. Next slide, please. This is a powerful, powerful slide. If wars begin in the minds of men, the Vietnam War began in the mind of Ho Chi Minh. For 30 years, he had relentlessly pursued his goal of uniting Vietnam under his totalitarian rule. His undying dream was an unending nightmare for millions of Vietnamese. But here's the story. The French went in and tried to beat the guy. The French couldn't beat him. America went in there. They couldn't beat him. This frail man that didn't weigh 100 pounds beat two of the world's superpowers because of one thought. This, to me, was one of the most powerful pictures I'd ever seen. That a man like that could beat two of the world's powerhouses and come out a victor at the end. Now, I don't know if you understand exactly what I have said to you today, but America lost 58,000 men trying to beat this guy. We lost millions and millions and millions of dollars. In fact, our Social Security system funded this war. All of the money we'd put in our Social Security system as seniors went in to fight this war. And this man, this frail 100-pound man, we couldn't beat him. Now, I want you to understand the power of this, people, because there ain't nobody can beat you. If you decide once and for all in your life to get a target and stay with it and learn about power and the universe and miracles, and if you'll learn all that, Shackley's going to be a great future for you, because this company is going to be here 10 years from now and 20 years from now and 30 years from now, because we've been built on a philosophy that has lasted 100 years. It's something you'll never see again. So I close this program with the greatest program I've ever put out in Shackley. I love this program because it's the story of my career in Shackley. It's the story of my life in Shackley. It's the story of everything that I went through and I learned to get here. And I want all of you to know this is a story that only you can tell. Because you today have got to decide once and for all in your life, do I want to create and do I want to get to my miracle? And do I want to go out and look back in my life and say, I really did a great job. I influenced a lot of people, changed a lot of people's lives, supported a lot of people to success. And that really, to me, is the big reward that I have today in Shackley, of all the lives that I've touched and all the lives that I have really made a difference in, and seeing me preserving this incredible philosophy that I have believed in all these years in this incredible company and sharing it now with you. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for considering coming into our organization. And you can always count that I walk my talk. Thank you, everybody.